Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. If you'll join me for the pledge, we can convene this town board meeting of the town of Queens. Flag's over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There too. What?
Call Danny in.
Yeah, Danny, since we're up, I just want to make a note that Linda Bruno, Councilperson Bruno, is absent, and so is Ron Potailing, and Dan Baker of the Highway Department would like to make a statement.
Good evening, Supervisor and Town Board, friends and family. As many of you know, we lost Albert Deering last Friday, December 6th. Albert J. Deering, 79 of Queens Hollow, passed away on December 6, 2024 at St. Peter's Hospital. Albert was born on April 18, 1945 to Catherine and Albert Deering. After graduating from RCS in 1963, he began his career working for Albany County Highway Department. He later then transferred to the Town of Queens Highway Department, which he served and then became the highway superintendent. In 1964, Albert met his wife, Catherine. They later married on August 12, 1966 at the Enniscorthy Reformed Church. Albert and Catherine went on to have two children, Joe and Michael. After Albert's retirement, he worked for Coxsackie Transport. Albert cherished every moment with his family, especially his loving wife, Catherine, his sons, his 4 grandchildren, Joey, Zach, Alex, and Brianna, along with his 2 great-grandchildren, Cooper and Haley. Albert's passion for working on his garden tractor and tinkering in his garage and his machinery was inspiring. While we lost our beloved husband, dad, grandfather, many in our community have lost a friend, mentor, co-worker, colleague, cousin, brother, uncle, and a handyman. The list goes on and on and on. His selflessness and his generosity touched countless lives, and his legacy will continue to inspire his family and community that he loves so much. The Deering family would like to thank the staff at ICU at St. Peter's, and there will be calling hours tomorrow at Babcock Funeral Home from 3 to 6 in Ravena. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Danny. Have a few announcements tonight. The A.W. Becker 5th grade band and chorus winter concert is December 12th at 7 p.m. at the RCS Auditorium. And the Peter B. Queemans 5th grade band and chorus winter concert will be the 17th of this month at 7 p.m. at the RCS Auditorium. Middle and high school band and chorus concert is December 18th at 7 p.m. at the RCS Auditorium. And Sweets with Santa is December 14th at 10:30 a.m. at the RCS Community Library. Registration is required, ages 2 to 10. Everybody had a chance to review the minutes from November 25th?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's accepted.
Supervisor, don't forget, this is a public hearing for the sewer rents, so we should probably.
We were actually going to do that on the at the organizational meeting. I think we decided.
That was discussed with the town clerk, because we have a notice for tonight.
Okay. I don't have that on the agenda.
It's at the top. It says public hearing for 2025 sewer rates.
Okay. Well, let's open the public hearing for the 2025 sewer rates. If anyone has anything they need to say, you can step to the lectern. Seeing none.
You could leave it open.
My suggestion
Leave
would
it
be
open,
to leave
yeah.
it open.
Okay, we have on old business the assessment agreement discussion, and if anybody would like to step to the lectern to
In case you want the rates to tell people what they're going to be
Oh,
from
thank you
last
so
year,
much.
if somebody would like to read the notice, that's an option.
Yes, Steve, would you?
I'll go ahead and read the notice. Notice Town of Queens Town Board Public Hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Town Board of the Town of Queens will hold a public hearing for the purpose of hearing comments on the proposed sewer rates for 2025. The public hearing will be held at 6:00 p.m. on December 12, 2024 at Queens Town Hall, 18 Russell Avenue, Ravena, New York. Please take further notice that all interested parties will be heard at this time and place. Proposed sewer rates are available at the office of the Queens Town Clerk. By order of the Town Board of the Town of Queens, Candace McHugh, Town Clerk.
And just for purposes of knowing the sewer rates, 2024 Village is $42,476.89. Hamlet, $226.24. Stonehouse Hill, $240.43. 2025 for the Village is $44,000 monthly, and the Hamlet's $260.26 twice per year. And Stonehouse Hill is $291.82 2 times per year.
Can you just repeat the village's rate, please?
42,000?
Yeah, but monthly.
No, 44,000.
Okay. You have a breakdown of what it is per residence, because it's all uniform?
No, not here with me right now, but we can
Okay.
present that.
So again, the public hearing is open. If anybody's here to speak about the sewer rents, let us know, and we'll keep it open for a little while.
Moving on to old business, the assessment agreement discussion will continue. If anybody would like to step to the lectern, have any new information, I'd like to hear it.
Yes, my name is Michael Biscone, and I think my name was mentioned at the meeting that was held here in November 14th. I was available to speak that evening and address our perspective, and by our perspective, I mean my perspective from representing RMN Properties, which is the applicant here. And I did represent them at that time, and I appreciate being put on the calendar for tonight. Initially, I want to know if every member of the board has my itemized statement for services in connection with this project. Are you in possession of that, Mr. Stott?
I don't believe so, no.
I'm going to give you one tonight, and I'd ask it to be put in the file of Mr. Hotelling and Mr. Bruno. This is going to be basically the
Thank you.
the items that you have to follow on these. We're required, as Mr. Smith knows, to keep an itemized log of all of our services that are rendered on any project, be it any topic whatsoever, and that's what I did here. Initially, as an overview, what we did on this matter was we contacted the supervisor on this project and asked how we should proceed for some tax relief. I then filed what was called a 485B. 485B is a statute under the real property law passed by the state of New York, which mandates each community to give certain prescribed tax relief to encourage commercial investment in a community. Communities could opt out of that statute if they thought it was to their benefit of the community. No community surrounding this community has opted out. I later found out, and it'll come clear on this schedule of charges, that the town of Queens had opted out. We began discussions as to what the town of Queens did to promote investment, and we discussed this 485B, an IDA pilot, and whether or not we were going to make this building the headquarters for Nolan Energy or just an office building, as Mr. Nolan owned 3 different tank farms in different municipalities and was about to increase his employment to 30 to 40 people. At this time, which is over 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, he didn't employ that number of people. So let me go from there and follow what is the lineage of what happened, because I do not believe that this town board has been advised clearly as to what happened on this project. Again, using my billing and my notes, and I keep a note of every phone conversation had, any communication, and any office visit. The first thing you're going to see is August 18th, 2022, we had a discussion with the town on the 485, and we established with the assessor an agreed upon amount of $1.75 million at that time for this building. All right, I then prepared and filed with the town a 485B application. That was done on September 19th, 2022. If you're interested, I can provide you with a copy of the filed 485 application for your review. I'll put it to the side by your counsel, and you can tell me later if you want the cover letter and the actual application. The application was then received by Dawn DeRosa, who is your assessor. She discussed it. She acknowledged receipt of that. And the next item that occurred was a discussion and a telephone call from the supervisor, who indicated to me that the town, through prior administrations, had opted out of 485B. That discussion took place on October the 6th, 2022. Okay. From that point, I indicated to both the assessor and the supervisor what it is that they preferred to do. Because my client was about to make a large investment in the community. They said, we're going to defer to a gentleman called Larry Farbstein. I know Larry Farbstein for the past 40 years. I was a neighbor of his in Slingerlands when I lived there, and I had many, many dealings with the gentleman. He's a very capable expert in the appraisal field, and from what I understood, was used extensively by the town of Queens as your expert. On October the 6th, 2022, and we're down, if you follow what I'm doing on my scenario here, I calculated the next thing was the IDA proposal versus a private deal. I had to entertain that to represent my client. There's the 485 application. And now we're down to October the 6th, telephone conference with assessor, same day telephone conference with Mr. Farbstein and the supervisor. At that telephone conference, I had indicated to Mr. Farbstein that there were three options for Mr. Nolan. One, a 485B, you could opt back into it as the town, if he was going to advise the town to do that. An IDA underwriting of our mortgage, I was bond counsel, attorney for the Bank of Greene County, where Mr. Nolan was getting his financing and could have easily gone to the Albany IDA and gotten IDA financing. The third alternative was not to complete the project as his headquarters, because we had other options available to Mr. Nolan, as I've indicated to you, for other sites, for other tank farms. In that conference and at that time, Mr. Farbstein indicated you don't have to choose any of the three. There's a fourth alternative called an assessment agreement that he had prepared for a downstate city that was enforced and approved by the city council and was valid. And as we spoke that day, it was still in full force and effect. I knew nothing about such assessment agreement. I've never even heard of that. Mr. Farbstein indicated then that he could provide me with the template, and I have the template right here, that he used for the downstate facility to effectuate an assessment agreement. He typed in Town of Queens, but because Mr. Farbstein has no secretaries, had asked me to fill in the blanks from the template and provide him with that copy. I could provide this board with a copy of that template. From that point forward, and if you follow down again, it shows how we reviewed an alternate proposal. I'm calling this the alternate proposal. I misnamed it a pilot program because I had no concept, no knowledge of an assessment agreement. I later found out from Mr. Farbstein, as did the town, that this is a different vehicle for the town to use. We then agreed, and Mr. Farbstein said, that in order to use my template, he needed a fee. He was going to charge the town $1,000 for the use of that template. Mr. McHugh, after conferring with members of the town board, but not at a meeting, had thought it would be appropriate if Mr. Nolan paid that fee and avoided the charge to the town because of this matter. I have the bill for $1,000 and the canceled check paying Mr. Farbstein on behalf of the town On October 20th, 2022, so you can see the chronology here, the $1,000, at which point he released the agreement to me, the template. Please understand that at this juncture, Mr. Nolan is relying, to his detriment, on this vehicle to be used by the town of Queens. It's called detrimental reliance, and this gentleman knows what that means. Detrimental reliance by a person who relies on the presentation by another entity to his detriment can rely on that as so, as true. We didn't have any knowledge for this. We'll get to the knowledge in a minute. So the agreement was prepared by me. There was another telephone conference with Mr. Farbstein, you'll see on October 11th. I prepared and submitted the agreement on October 13th to the town. Here's the cover letter. Please have your general counsel review the enclosed, thereafter contact me any modifications or adjustments. Please consider the correspondence as the withdrawal of our 485B application. Because again, I left it to the town to opt into it. This town was a business-friendly town. 485 was a statute passed by the state to promote business in towns. If you want a copy of this, I'll give you this copy. Thereafter, Mr. McHugh sent it to the town council who approved it. He sent it to Mr. Farbstein. Mr. Farbstein, there was a conference with the supervisor on October 15th. There was mergers of several parcels that I had to perform on December 1st and December 2nd and the 5th, which had only to join all the parcels here into one parcel for Mr. Nolan and for the town. All right, the next item in the chronology is of some importance. November 22nd, after we received the approval of the town council, indicated to the supervisor, George, this is the agreement I proposed. I'll give you a copy of this because I understand there's understanding as who prepared this and whose idea this. Got approved by town council and then put it in front of the board where you and Mrs. Bruno sat on that board. There were revisions to this agreement that Mr. Farbstein insisted. There is a schedule attached to this agreement. It's in your resolution. I did not prepare that schedule. That's Mr. Farbstein's schedule. All right. There was a typographical error, and there's a charge here on December the 5th, and then on the 19th, we filed this with the town. That's the chronology of what happened here. There was an additional charge of $375 to review the revisions. He sent the bill to the town of Queens on December the 1st, 2022. I have his bill. The supervisor said, Mr. Biscone, in connection with our agreement, we'd ask that you pay, and I personally paid, $375 for Mr. Farbstein's review and approval of the agreement. My function in this whole thing, other than to advise my client of the proposal by the town, was a typist. I provided the typist, because Larry Farbstein did not have a secretary to do that. A little bit different from what's been said here before. Are we all kind of what a 485B is and how you, and still as you sit here today, guys, it's something the board should consider. Why are you still opting out of this 485B mandated state statute to promote business? It's been professed by this board and prior boards that you're business friendly. Okay. You then voted on November 14th on a resolution proposed by the supervisor and seconded by Mrs. Bruno on a 3-2 vote to revoke this assessment agreement. Your vote was based on the information available to you at this time. The information available to you tonight is markedly different. I want you to know as a board that RMN Properties relied on this agreement, abandoned any other avenues of relief as 485B. Again, I didn't withdraw that till this agreement was accepted by the town because the town would have opted in to a 485B. All to his detriment, and then invested multi-million dollars in his community and employs today 36 people who work for his firm right here on US Route 9W in Ravena. It's not the largest employer down here. We have the cement company, we have the school district, we have Carver, and so on and so forth. But I will say this to you, he's the largest local employer who's bred and raised here and investing in this community. This board is attempting to perform what I am terming collateral attack on this agreement. Here's what we mean. A collateral attack. It's an English law. It's called common law. It's been adopted by the state of New York. This large book is definitions of all of the phraseologies that lawyers use. The doctors have a big book for their Latin phraseology as well. Very simply, estoppel means that a party is prevented by his own acts from claiming a right detrimental to another party who has relied on such conduct and has acted accordingly. That's estoppel. You can't do something and then say, oh, we changed our mind, all right? It's been used here that this is unconstitutional. I'm not a constitutional expert. He's not. He's not. You certainly aren't. If something has to be ruled unconstitutionally, people can opinion on it. Only the judiciary can tell you that. We don't have that before you, gentlemen. Going back to collateral estoppel, you folks can't attack your own agreement. This is your agreement. This is not my agreement. This is not Mr. Nolan's agreement. This agreement, and please review these documents, was fashioned by your expert, an agent, servant, or employee of the town of Queens, and relied on by Mr. Nolan so that he didn't get an IDA loan, which we could have, so that he didn't request the 485B opting in, which we didn't, and that he didn't stop his project, which was only foundational, and go to another area for a tank farm where they have these programs, 485Bs and so on. Finally, if you continue and have that resolution that was passed but not effectuated yet, we haven't been served with it, and that was one of the requirements in the resolution prepared by the supervisor. If you continue with it, you place into jeopardy the truthfulness and reliability of the town of Queens. We've all been here a while. Your family, multi-generations. You own land here, and you've been here a while. Mrs. Bruno has a life here. Hotellings go back for 3 generations. Are you going to have it published that a board can revoke what a prior board did because we don't think it's right? We have an opinion that says it's not right, and the hell with the prior opinions. The hell that somebody invested millions of dollars in the community. How are you going to get an artisan to do business with you in what I'll call an autumn contract? Because winter's coming. And you folks have 2 council people every 2 years, and this gentleman every 2 years. How are you going to be reliable? How are you going to be trustworthy in the community? How is your current lawyer, who has a contract, going to know that in 2 years he could be told to get out? He can't. But he can rely on your honor and your moral turpitude. That's what's in question here, in addition to the legalities before you. Your grandfather would never do that. Her family would never do that, and neither would the Hotellans. And I say this because I've been an attorney here for 52 years and lived here for 75. What am I asking? 2 things. Is this a personal matter? You folks have 6 pilot programs in effect. You reviewed any of those to see what your predecessors determined was a sufficient pilot? Under this program, please understand, we got 25% of the relief we would have gotten on a pilot. We don't have a 20-year forgiveness. We have a 5-year, and in the 5th year, we go to 100%. You're locked into 3 years, and all you're talking about is revoking the 4th. The 5th year, we go to 100%. On a 485B, it's a 10-year average. You start at 50%, you go up 5% every year. Take a look at our chart. Mr. Farbstein cut in half what we would have got by a 485B and cut by 3/4 what we would have got in a pilot, both of which were available to us, but I said it was enough if you were going to live up to it. That's called detriment, folks. Detrimental reliance in capitals. I'm asking this board to prepare a resolution, canceling and annulling your prior resolution and reinstating that status quo agreement. Why? Because it's right. For the reasons I've told you tonight, for the documentation you have before you and will in a minute, this was an agreement fashioned by the town, promoted by the town to this man's great detriment. Any other alternative would have gotten to him terrifically more financial relief than this. I'm done. I'm going to have Mr. McHugh say a few words, and if there's any questions, we can address them.
How's that? Good evening. I'm George McHugh. I was the supervisor at the time of this agreement that was drafted. And I just want to say that I'm here just to really, I'm not here for Mr. Nolan. I'm not here to, he has his own attorneys. I'm not his attorney. I'm here to just tell you that what Mr. Biscone recited regarding our conversations about Mr. Farbstein's interplay in this is completely accurate. When he brought this idea to me, I did not know what we could do, what we couldn't do, but I did know one thing. I looked at Cumberland Farms in that corner for a number of years, as I'm sure some of you have, and I knew that I wanted to see something better than that. And Mr. Nolan was willing to spend the money to build that area up and to invest in our town. That was enough for me. So what I did, I called up Mr. Farbstein when I found out that the 485B was not an option. And I told Mr. Farbstein, because Mr. Farbstein had been our expert for a long time. I've worked with Mr. Farbstein for years, since 2000 when I was the supervisor. Mr. Farbstein took my call and I said, listen, if we can do something for this to incentivize the development and it's legal, then let's do it. I'm sure the board is going to be in favor of something like that. I put him in touch with Mr. Biscone. We had the first initial conversation as a conference call, and then after that I know that he had many conversations with Mr. Biscone. At the end of the day, I got something from Mr. Biscone in an email, which was, I knew that Larry had sent him the template. I knew that Mr. Biscone and him had been going back and forth with the schedule. And my email to Larry was, is this okay? Meaning, is this the final product and can I bring this now to our council and to the town board? Larry said it was the agreement that he provided, so he was kind of like bragging about that this was his agreement. I have been practicing law for about 28 years. I've never heard of an assessment agreement, but I rely on Larry because Larry has been around for a lot of years and he is known throughout all the municipalities as an expert in this field. So I relied on that. I had no reason to believe that there was anything wrong. Our town attorney at the time also relied on Larry, but said legally it's a contract and it was sufficient, legally sufficient, but didn't delve into the to the areas that Larry was looking at. So I don't know, I can't speak to that, but he did say it was a legally sufficient contract. The town board at the time voted, I believe, 5-0 that they were all in agreement. I know the only person here tonight that was on that board was Mr. Schmidt. But we voted because at the time we were very pro-economic development and we all wanted to see investment in our town and jobs staying in our town. I believe Mr. Nolan has almost 40 employees and they're all local. They're headquartered locally. And that was what we were trying to accomplish with this. So I'm here basically to tell you that's exactly what happened. We relied on Mr. Farbstein. Mr. Farbstein provided all this. And when I did get the bills, I did send them to Mr. Biscone. I didn't even ask the town board about it at the time because I felt that Mr. Nolan was more or less the applicant. When you apply for something like this at an IDA, the applicant fees. So in this case, I gave it to Biscone and Nolan paid the fees on behalf of the town's representation. All that's accurate, all that's true, that's what happened, and I'm sorry to see that Mr. Farbstein's not here to confirm that for you, because that's exactly what happened.
Mr. McHugh, question. To your knowledge, is this the only assessment agreement that's been created in the town of Queens? To your
To
knowledge?
my knowledge, yeah. I never heard of
Has there
that.
been one after this?
I don't know.
Why do you, I mean, and this is just an honest question,
I don't
why
know.
do you think there has never been any other commercial, non-industrial business who has ever obtained an assessment agreement?
I don't know.
I don't either.
I
I'm
don't know.
curious.
I can just tell you, when Larry mentioned it, he said, we did this downstate on another town. I used this mechanism, and, you know, I think you guys could do it here. So I just relied on that. I didn't put a lot of thought into it. My advice to him was very general. If we can do something to incentivize and help the applicant, and it's legal and the town board can approve it, fine. If not, then they'll have to go to the IDA, or we'll have to think of something else.
Or a 485.
Or 485, yeah. But he was pretty adamant that he had done this somewhere downstate, I think Long Island area. And he was gonna use that same template. It would be a lot easier, a lot quicker, and it wouldn't have to go to the IDA. It wouldn't require a local law or anything like that. It would just require a resolution from the town board. So it was expeditious.
And Mr. Stott, to address your question, has there been another building like this built here subsequent? No.
What about across the street? The Newcomer Farms building. Looks just about the same
They're a
size.
corporation and they didn't apply for any relief.
But isn't
They
that
didn't
now?
apply because they didn't know, or did they not apply because they think it was
Can't
legal?
answer that. They're a
I can't answer that either. I'm just
Massachusetts
right?
corporation. They just got sold to a British corporation for multi-billion dollars, and maybe they just don't care.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that wasn't after us, that was before us.
Sure. So, do you think that, you know, non-industrial businesses from here on out that come to the town of Queens, they should, whoever they are, they should apply for a assessment agreement and obtain one and
If that's what your expert advises, sure. If that's what your expert advises, I'm pro-economic development. If we can bring jobs or keep jobs in our town, if we can take deteriorated properties and build them up like he did the Cumberland Farms property, I'm absolutely in favor of that. That's me personally, but I don't know that my personal beliefs matter in this. I'm here to confirm the facts of what happened. I've heard this was a fact-finding mission.
yes. Speaking upon fact-finding, you know, just a question for Mr. Biscone as well. You know, we've known about, or you've known about this topic on our agenda for a month and a half, maybe 2 months.
I'm glad you brought that up. You don't even have to finish.
Well, wait, I would like to say before you did, I know you're gonna say, but I was on the phone with Mr. Schmidt and basically offered to be on a conference call here, waited and waited and waited for a phone call, waited for an invitation.
I offered to the board to.
But it wasn't because I was lacking.
That's right.
I think I bent over backwards to make myself available to this board.
But I'm not talking even before, you know, 2 meetings ago, you know, you were aware of the idea of this assessment agreement and us questioning it, but there was no information sent?
I don't watch your town board meetings. This is the first time I've been back.
Oh, okay.
So I don't
Okay.
keep tabs on you guys.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you. Appreciate your answer.
And to answer your question, while I was absent, I was boarding a plane at the Albany airport and received a call from Candace McHugh indicating that the next day this was going to be before your board. I'm in the air. I landed in Florida, made arrangements to be available by call, and additionally canceled the dinner meeting that night in Florida and sat by the phone for 2 hours waiting for you to chime in and have me address this. Neither of them happened. I received no advance notice of that calendar agenda. I received no emails from the supervisor's office, the board, or the clerk, and was shocked and expressed my shock to the town clerk as she spoke with me from the Albany County Airport vestibule. That's why I wasn't here. If you have anything to the contrary, let me see it.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Well, thank you for coming in tonight. We appreciate your time and the documents that you.
Which copies would you like, gentlemen?
All of them.
You get a copy of all of them.
I'll make an extra for you, and tomorrow at the office. I'm gonna drop off packets to the town clerk for the 5. Where do you want me to send yours or drop it here?
You can drop it. That's
Drop
fine.
it here.
Yeah.
So I'll make 6 packets. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you include in it, I don't know if that's in your packet there?
You want a copy of that?
Well, just, I don't need it now, but just so that.
Yeah, only made 5. You want that too? Yes,
Sure.
absolutely correct.
Thank you.
You have a card?
I can get you his contact information.
Yeah, other agreements, I don't have one on me, no, but I'll get you that.
Sound like me and my wife takes them.
That's-
Thank you for your time, folks.
Thank you.
No further discussion. We can move on to, well, we have this supervisor's report from the last meeting. I believe we had a question about the $1,000 from H Fund that was finishing Riverfront Park. And the third quarter sales is where these deposits came from.
Along those same lines, I would like to reiterate again that anytime money is moved to NICLAS or anytime money is pulled from NICLAS, I personally believe, and I stress this, there should be a resolution. There should be a resolution by the town board, regardless. So I know this doesn't really have
We can make a
any,
motion to, do you have to make a motion to do that and then we vote on?
just like a budget transfer, I think we should have resolutions, so then there's no issue. We don't find out at the end of the month about a transfer or a deposit. It's just, the board and the board makes the decision.
Yeah, did you look into that last time we talked about
Yeah,
it?
I can take a look at that. The other thing we could do too is you could update your investment policy, right? We could prepare that prior to the organizational meeting. And, your current investment policy really predates your investing in this particular vehicle. And so we could update that to clarify whatever procedures you're all comfortable with, just so that everybody's on the same page and it's.
Right.
Right.
Which I had reached out months and months ago. We have to update the investment policy and the workplace violence program, and our ethics committee is a member short. So yeah, we have a lot of clerical work to do, but definitely.
I can circulate some proposed language and then.
Yeah, I would appreciate that.
Well, finding this in order, I'd like to have the supervisor's report accepted from November, what is that, 25th?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Report is accepted, and that leaves us to our 2 resolutions. Mike, you want to kick off?
Before we get into
Or do you want to do the?
the resolutions,
Oh, yeah,
there were
if
2
you,
topics that I wanted to bring up.
the MJ?
One was the town hall building, and my recent discussion, and our attorney was on that call with me. And I'd also like for you to provide a status update with regards to the grant concerning the electrical upgrade for the Port of Queens, the grant that the town of Queens was awarded.
The update for that is the confidential secretary is still pulling together all the parties involved for a meeting with the supervisor's office. That would be NYSERDA, ESD, Albany County Executive's Office, and Zach Collins to have a discussion pre-board. We had a meeting for the parties in the board, and the parties wanted to have a discussion previous to a full board discussion, because there would be a need for a public hearing, so.
And I think tentatively next Wednesday afternoon, maybe?
Is he settling? Was that the 18th?
That seems to be the date everybody's circling around.
Okay,
So I
good.
don't know that that's 100%.
And that's going to be a meeting between the supervisor and those individuals.
Supervisor's office.
And the representatives from the county, ESD, NYSERDA, and the board, I believe.
And you don't want anybody else from the board?
No, I would love, the parties involved want to have an update meeting first before we have to have a quorum, and then it's their comfortability that it's making our decision.
Okay. All right, so, getting to the town hall and MJ, engineering. So I don't know that everybody knows, they might have heard glimpses. We did get, feasibility studies done by MJ for the, community care building. And so two proposals, two feasibility studies were done. We took a look at them, we analyzed them, had discussions about them. Just so that everybody knows, both of these feasibility studies included a building addition, which would be 3,628 square feet or thereabouts. And it also included some site work, which included parking lot and sidewalks. So we had both of these studies provided to us back in September 24th, I believe is when the supervisor provided that to the council. It was sent to him on September 16th. So we took a look at them. We talked about it. Not a whole lot has been done since then. The numbers were pretty large. Option one was $4,392,500. Option two was $4,726,570. The board had asked the supervisor to reach back out to MJ, talk to them about other options that we may have, because at this point in time, we just don't think that that $4.3 or $4.7 million amount is feasible. After our last meeting, we had a discussion, and it was decided that we would schedule a meeting with MJ to kind of go over those options and to see if there was a way to somehow narrow these numbers down further. So we had a meeting with Jenny Lippman of MJ and Ted Marbacher of MJ on Monday, December 12th, 2024. The supervisor unfortunately could not attend. He was sick. So Mr. Riley and I attended the meeting with Jenny and Ted. We had a good discussion as far as I'm concerned. We informed them that, these numbers were just not really what the board is looking to spend at this point in time, and tried to figure out if there was a way to make this a phased approach. And when I say phased approach, meaning we're going to close on this building probably shortly. I think the closing was scheduled for last week.
It's scheduled for Monday morning. There were some corporate documents that we needed from the sellers. They've now provided those.
Okay.
And so we just scheduled with title. It should be Monday morning at 10 a.m.
So closing is now scheduled for this coming Monday at 10 a.m. So me personally, I did not want to purchase this building and have no plan. So that was the reason for the discussion with MJ. Again, the discussion was really good. They understood what we were trying to accomplish through this discussion, in that we'll make this a phased approach. We probably won't be in a position to put the addition on right now. We would get everybody into that new building except for the court. Everybody else would end up being in that building. And so they agreed they would get us another study. They agreed not to charge us for another study, to just, work with what we provided, the information that we provided. So last night, I did receive an email from Jenny Lippman at 5:46 last night with another revised feasibility study. Number was a lot. This now, when you factor in, so these estimates that I provided to you before did not have a budgetary soft cost for architectural engineering, bid support, and construction administration. This did include those soft costs, and it turned into $1,306,500. That would be without the. So again, I just received that email. I distributed it to the board for their review. We talked about it briefly before our meeting, and the thought process is that, we'll let the other board members take a look, chime in, and we will figure out where to go from here. I just think that, at this point in time, I was a little surprised to see the 1.3 million based upon what was explained to Jenny. But, it is what it is. Now, those costs, I will say that those costs include a lot of contingency, overhead, field order, contingency allowance. So there's a lot of money built in. And when I say a lot of money, option 2, without the contingencies built in, it was 3.1 million. And with the contingencies, it brought it up to 4.7. So you're talking $1.6 million in contingency. With this new revised drawing, it was $782,300 without contingency, and with contingency, it was 1.336 million. So again, almost double in contingency. So that's kind of an update right now as to where we are with the studies and with MJ. Again, the board will do some more. We'll have more discussions, and we'll figure out what we can do to get this cost down. We have to come up with a budget. I don't know that a budget has been proposed yet as to what exactly we want to spend or what we can afford to spend. But again, I just wanted to bring it to the public's attention so that you're aware of where we are with the building and the numbers that we've gotten to date.
And just to clarify, the plan idea, I have a brief timeline of our relationship with MJ. So I think our minutes meeting back from June had Ted Marbaker in the audience, and we had discussed 1.4 million with the interior update and the addition. They had discussed $600 per square foot. That's where we came up with those initial numbers. July 12th, we had a kickoff meeting here of this year, which led to phone calls that I had in my work journal, speaking with Jenny Littman and Ted Marbaker, and I had discussed with Ted a bare bones approach. It's been the approach that I've had since the beginning of purchasing the building. That building ago, it just needed to be separated from one half police, which would be supervisor's office, assessor's office, building. And I had actually on the 29th of July sent a very rudimentary drawing that I had that described exactly what we wanted, what exists there, and not a complete renovation. And they did a inspection. There was Baker and about 4 understudies, and again about a bare bones approach. I was a little surprised to see 2 cars filled with people coming out to do they had to do some measurements and scan the building. And then after 4 days later, Ted came with the idea that in September they would have 2 finalized drafts on the 6th, and they would present those to us on the 13th of September. That's from my calendar. And on September 16th, we did get those 2 concepts, which was striking that one was 4.3 million and one was 4.7 million, which I then sent an email to the board. These 2 concepts are excessively over the budget and design we discussed with MJ. Quite frankly, I'm shocked at how differently they interpreted what we asked for. The interior of the building does not need this level of renovation, nor does the addition need to be as elaborate as presented. Submit to the board that we take 3 bids to do minimal renovations to prepare the existing building for the town's occupation. This would include transaction windows, walls, 6 doors, and a shower for the police department. Very minimal. Mike and Ron both walked through the building with me yesterday to see the interior is very ready for occupancy except for the above mentioned renovations. Please let me know if you'd like to see the interior of the space for further evaluation. I would also like the board's input on how to proceed with MJ. I'm not sure if the town can afford them anymore. If the board would like me to reach out to other firms, I will. If the board would like me to put in an open bid, put out an open bid moving forward, I'll do that too. Thanks. And there were, I think you responded, and I think Linda responded. And then I spoke to Ted again, and I told him that I'd have to speak to the board about those prices and the project scope that I thought was over what we had asked for. And then on September 26th at a town board meeting, Supervisor Darnley states plans for the new town hall have been presented to the board. The board feels that the engineers are not listening to their requests and are exploring the idea of local contractors. And then on September 26th, I spoke to Ted Marbaker again, conveying that the project was too elaborate for our town. And then on the 27th, the next day, I emailed the board. I spoke with Ted Marbaker today and informed him that the plans exceed our needs both financially and conceptually. I asked him if we had to pay for the designs that we couldn't use, and he responded that he wanted to bring Jenny down here and work a plan, quote. I stated that we wanted to do minimal renovations for our needs. He reiterated coming down again with Jenny to work a plan. And I say to the board, I propose that we move on, thank MJ for their time, and see what they want to charge us before we do anything else with them. Let me know how you would like to proceed. And I had sent MJ another rudimentary drawing. This is the actual building. This is what our concept of what it needs. I walked through on October 8th with the chief of police for like the fourth time, and this time he brought the sergeant and his secretary so that they could confirm to me. I wanted to make sure that they had enough space. We went through it once again on the 8th of October, and you can see from the design, we need about 6 doors and 5 walls and 2 transaction windows. And this shower area needs to be renovated for a locker room. So it will work, and there is a plan. And once again, so then after that, MJ sent me the bill for their feasibility study, which was $17,992.90. And then after that, I think we had some discussions for looking at other engineering firms. And on October 21st, I reached out to LaBerge and had a Zoom meeting on the 23rd with Jim Clark, their chief architect. And then on the 6th of November, Jim Clark came down and went through the building with me, confirming that it would be a light lift to do those 6 doors and walls and 2 transaction windows. We would have to have a 2-phase plan. That would be the first plan, and then the second would be not only investigating the addition, but the 3 outbuildings to use for possible offices, more storage space. Obviously, the police could have the building for cars that they have to keep under garage. November 20th, LaBerge sends a proposal for professional services at the sum of $18,500, which is different from the feasibility study. The tasks included from MJ's feasibility was detailed architectural and engineering design services and development of construction drawings, project bidding, and construction phase services. That is what this contract is professing to do. So you would do a feasibility study for the $18,000 that we paid, and you would contract in for professional services for another $18,000. Either way, we would be paying $18,000 for both of those, the feasibility study and the professional services. December 2nd was the meeting that I couldn't go to due to COVID. I think I talked to Rich and Steve both to see if they were comfortable with speaking with Jenny and Ted to push the bare bones estimate, and that came back on December 11th as the $1.3 million estimate, which once again far exceeds our scope and needs. And that's where we are with the plan for town hall. Any questions? Discussion?
Hi, my name is William Stewart. So is that cost, is that just for renovation?
The December 11th?
The 1.3?
The interior renovation, which is almost a complete renovation. There are multiple walls and offices moved around, which we just need to separate the police from our offices.
And then you have to get a study for a cost of the actual courtroom.
The addition would be,
I mean,
That would be,
we have Prices for the addition, 600 square feet, and $2,106,800 for 3,500. Plus the cost of the building.
What's the cost of it?
Correct.
So now, you talked in the past about property that the town owns. Have you guys looked at it and said, can we sell some of this property, get some money, put it on tax?
I've actually visited these properties. We have 20 acres on Mud Hill, which can be either sold or utilized. This town is in desperate need of affordable housing, and if we are going to have hundreds and hundreds of jobs coming in, it would be great if we had housing for people that would want to actually move here and grow the town and grow it from the bottom up.
How fast do you think you could put any of this property on the market so you could sell it and put it on the tax roll?
Yeah, we could look into that. And there's another property down on South Main Street in the Hamlet that is a bit smaller. But I went and explored that property, and there is actually like a drainage pipe that goes through it. It's the one with the trailer on it, right across the
I heard
street.
about that.
Yeah, it's an interesting property, and we are having interesting issues down there. So we're.
I mean, is there properties that residents might be interested in buying? People just plots it?
Maybe. The Mud Hill one is very interesting, I think. Actually, Danny, I'm glad you're here because I went up there. There's some barricades up there, the yellow ones, and it looks like there's blacktop dump there. Is that?
Yeah, so we put them there to try to keep some of the other municipalities in the state from dumping there.
Yeah.
In the past, they dumped deceased carcasses.
Yeah, I saw that pile of bones. That's other municipalities? I thought it was just Hunters.
No, so the state and some other ones.
Yeah, when you walk to the north of that property.
Over the years, there's been some dumping of and stuff there that's up to our boundary lines.
Yeah.
Trying to keep some of it out of there.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to
And
you
then we
about
have a
that.
bunch of stock rock on the left side
Yeah,
that we utilize.
yeah,
We own property on both sides of the road.
it's an interesting property.
So all these multiple properties, if you get them together and start off, you could take that money.
It's sort of a short term, when you look at, I mean, coming from my point of view, you know, our industries and people here. Affordable housing, some grow, which I think it's going to. I mean, that's just the nature of how time works, and it hasn't grown for a while. Actually, there was a 2010, I think, about there are a lot of buildings that are empty, and you do want to attract. You really have to make sure that you have an infrastructure that works first, and you have people that perhaps want to have businesses on Main Street. And I speak to people that have business on Main Street that, everyone, it's the same complaint for decades, truck traffic. So we're working with LaBerge Wholesome to try to find some solutions to that as we are doing all these other projects. And they're very large projects.
Because if we don't come up with some kind of money, there's going to have to be, unfortunately, there's going to be talking about bond again, right?
For millions of dollars. Yeah, if you want to look back to the plow truck, once again, that Danny was talking about back at the beginning of the year for $270,000. If we have to take a bond out for $270,000, you know we're going to have to take a bond out for $2 million.
Right.
That's the key to the investing into NIDE class. So far, since September 5th, we've generated over $70,000. That's the attractive part for me. But we are creating a revenue stream from money that was once gaining 1% and is now gaining 4.7. It's dropped a bit. It was about 5.3 when we first started. This summer it was 5.5, but it took a while to get that resolution through. There was some
But now if you
opposition.
had to you have to take a bond out for this, it's gotta go to the vote.
Of course, yeah.
So now, and if you're looking at this, you have to look at this pretty quickly because of cost. Because we all know the cost is gonna just keep going up. Labor, and it's just,
That's another reason that to look at the buildings. You know, I have fostered a relationship with LaBerge because Jim Clark, he noticed those buildings right off. And I would have zero problem with one of those buildings being an office building for the supervisor's office or whoever needs to be in there. And the other one for police impound. And then there's a third building. They're combined with the doctor's office in the three buildings is 12,000 square feet. That meets our needs. We just have to be inventive and cost effective.
but they gotta be renovated specifically for that.
Yeah, and
That's
in
correct.
fact, we went through we had that dry spell, and yesterday it rained so hard that after work, when it was about 4:30, I drove to there because I wanted to see how the water was flowing because I was a bit nervous that there wasn't drainage, but they had developed that property so it drains. There's like a pond of filled with rocks. The tree had fallen down recently, but there isn't ponding there. I was worried about that. So those buildings are dry.
So now, are you guys, because I heard a couple engineering firms, MJ and the other.
Yeah.
Once you come up with the exact what you're looking for, quarter mile, 3,000, 2,500 square
I think it was
feet.
like 6, right?
The original building, 4,400.
Yeah.
For the addition,
No,
Oh, the
the
addition.
building is 4,400 square feet.
the addition was like 3,600 square feet.
And once you come up with that and you get an actual cost, that's when you're gonna have to start to bid out and jump on this as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and well, that was their original. They had the two options, and it's very big. Like you said, 3,100 square feet, but a lot of that is offices for supervisor and things like that. And if you use one of the outbuildings, you may not have to have an addition that big. I mean, I don't envision the scope of it. And you can always add more later if you want, but I envision small steps towards the goal. That's not shocking, that we can manage without paying high interest rates on a bond. You know,
Okay. All right, thank you.
thanks, William.
Just so the public is aware, the supervisor keeps talking about this LaBerge Consulting and Engineering Group. I did some research this afternoon, and it didn't take me very long. It took me probably 1.3 seconds. I found an article from the Troy Record dated July 22nd, 2021. Former LaBerge president faces jail time. I'll just read you the opening paragraph. The former president of LaBerge Consulting and Engineering Group and Albany Management Incorporated pleaded guilty in federal court Wednesday, this would be in July of 2021, to making a payment to a state employee to secure a state lease for property in Troy. Now, I don't know about you, but I am not about to get involved with a engineering and consulting group where the former president and founder went to jail. So,
I mean, to play devil's advocate, though, I mean, just because the guy at the top or the one at the top is not ethical or fair doesn't mean the rest of the company or the employees who work there follow the same suit, right? I mean,
that's correct, but
you get rid of the bad fruit and you bring in somebody different, and that's possible. I mean, and this was several years ago, so
again, but
I'm just playing devil's.
Did you know this? Were you aware of this?
I was not. No.
Oh, okay.
No.
And that doesn't change your opinion of the LaBerge group.
Well, I think you have to look into things, but an article that was written 3 years ago about the CEO, isn't end all be all for me. I would look into it further. I think every employee there is corrupt, bad, and unethical. I just think, there was a bad guy at the top, and it sort of led to, hopefully restructuring of the company.
Again, I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention. I wanted to
Knowledge
bring it to
is
the
knowledge is
public.
great. I appreciate it.
Thank you, yeah. Well, if there's no further discussion, you want to move on to the resolution?
Resolutions, yeah, that'd be great.
Take off the budget transfer.
Councilmember Stott offering the following resolution. It's adopted, whereas the chief fiscal officer determined that in order to maintain proper balances within various accounts, several inter-fund transfers are necessary. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Queens does hereby authorize Supervisor Stephen Donnelly to transfer the funds as depicted below for the budget year 2024. General A, the amount of $10,000, account A, 81604, refuse garbage contractual, to account A, 5132.4, garbage contractual.
I second that. And just for matters of discussion, this account from refuse and garbage, Dan, we barely use. It'll still have $7,500 left in it because right now there's $17,500 in it. And the garage contractual is for training.
Yes.
Flip it over. All in favor? Or if there's
Aye.
no further discussion?
Aye.
Linda's absent. Ron's absent. Okay. Aye. Resolution carries. Aye. Supervisor Donnelly, offer the following resolution and move its adoption. Wait, didn't.
I think we're
Yeah,
waiting
we
that to
took
talk
this
with
off. We took this
Linda
off.
and Ron just to verify our options.
Yeah, we need their
Yeah.
input.
Right, table both of them.
Well, the next two, correct.
Okay, good.
Do you want to give any sort of explanation? Since
Well,
the-
this one that was tabled last time, there's $291,666.40. That is, our accountant had brought to my attention at the beginning of the year from last year, budget for 2024. She, to have flexibility, has advised us, or, in a general fund so that it can move more freely, because if it is put into capital projects, it'll be more difficult. There's Hillcrest. All of that money. So we're still discussing it.
Sounds like this project might need all the money too.
Let's hope.
Okay, so that takes care of resolutions and upcoming meetings. December 18th of this month, PBZBA at 7 p.m. December 26th is our next meeting at 6 p.m. And January 13th is PBZBA's first meeting of next year at 7 p.m. And it's public comment time. If somebody wants to speak, please step to the lectern.
Good evening again. So just speaking to the board as a resident, lifelong resident, as you guys know, born and raised here, been here my whole life. I'm 57 years old. I am a dual taxpayer, pay town of Queens taxes and village of Ravena taxes. Listening to the assessment agreement, I did sit on the board with two different administrations. I did vote for multiple pilots with Carver. I voted for the solar farm for the flax over behind the high school. I said it back then, I'll say it again. We need the Nolans. We need the Collinses. We need the flax. We need the Carvers. We need these people in our community, okay? When you look at Nolan's building and you look at what was there and you look at what he's done and you look at the amount of taxes that he pays, then you go out to Fairs Road and you look at what he's done out there. I look at it and I step back and I say, what does he get from the town of Queens? What does he get over here from the town of Queens? Can anybody answer that? What does he get for his taxes over here?
Nothing.
I'll answer it for you. He gets nothing. He plows his own roads. He pays for his garbages, right? He does all of that, and that's his choice. Fairs Road property, where him and his family live, I plow the road there. We pick up his brush. We pick up the limbs. That's what we offer as a community, right? So when you look at Mr. Nolan and what he's done for the community, and we offer, what does he get for his taxes? And I can't even imagine what the man pays in taxes. I know what I pay in taxes at my little postage stamp, right? So my opinion, and we have a mutual respect, we're colleagues. Think about this. Let's look at this, right? We need these guys here. I played Little League with the Nolans. He's been here his whole life. The Collinses, the Flax, you guys, the Hotels, we've all been here. Look at the room. Everybody here is from this area. We're all residents here. We all pay taxes. You guys did a great job with the budget, right? There was talk of 4 or 5% increase. You guys managed to have a 0% increase. I appreciate that, right? I can't even imagine what Nolan pays in taxes. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what he pays for his electric bill over there. But when you look at what he's done, what he's bringing to the community, 40 jobs, Ron Teeter's another one. Crossroads Ford, look at what he's done. We need these people to stay in our community. So I'm just, as a resident, as a taxpayer, I do no business with the man. I don't buy propane well, I do nothing with him. I plow his roads. I work for him just like I work for everybody else. I'm here to offer, I'm the highway superintendent. I don't care who you are, what party you're attached to, I'm here to work for the people in the community. So I just look at and say, what does he get for his taxes? I can tell you what he gets on 9W, 0. So I think Mr. Biscone's approach, I really enjoyed hearing all of the facts and the figures. Think about it, take your time, make the right decision. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Any further comment? Hearing none, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
We had a public before.
Thank you.
We haven't closed the public hearing, have you?
Board recognizes
No.
Candace.
Yeah, it's a public hearing as well, right?
Oh, yeah. thank you.
After Candace.
I believe I could hear well enough, but sometimes the mics box out. You guys have copies of the plans in front of you for the building, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So what is the length and the width of the addition?
So one plan for the addition was 3,628 square feet.
What is the length and the width?
I don't,
Look at the, maybe it's on the actual
Who
blueprint.
calculated that square footage to the addition?
then MJ.
I mean, last I knew we were talking about like a 30 by 20.
Yeah, one has it,
30 by 70.
one has it 30 by 70,
70.
Okay.
and it's like the full,
No, that was the sketch that I did, where they came back with a wraparound.
I thought one was not a wraparound, one was a wraparound. I'd have to,
Neither
One
of
was
them
more
were
narrow
wraparounds.
so that
yeah,
you
it
could
was.
drive around the back.
Option
of the
one,
building.
right here, is a wraparound. Yeah. So option one, it looks like to me, and I'm not an engineer, 101 this way, in the back, the whole backside, and then it comes around the corner by the buildings there, 40 feet. And then it's sort of like an L shaped right here, Ms. McHugh, and it's about 28 feet. So it's like 28, 40, and it looks like 100 or 101 right there.
I believe you mentioned up here like 3,500 square feet.
Roughly.
Have you talked to the court about that?
About the size of the addition?
Yes, and you have to get everything approved through the third judicial before you can do anything.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's too what?
The
OCA.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, they said it was too big. I said, what? No, yeah, right. No, but we know that.
And I haven't seen any of these plans, so I wouldn't know if you had changed the size of the addition because I haven't been privy to them.
Yeah. And to be honest, like with the meeting that happened a few days ago with Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Riley, I don't think was the addition even discussed, or are we just focusing on the main building?
The addition was not discussed during the December 2nd meeting with MJ. Based upon the estimates that were provided with the addition, we had to figure out what the cost was gonna be without the addition. So,
And I think that, our thinking was too, if we can focus on that first and get everything retrofitted over there, we can get everybody in one building, except for, we still have this building for the court and town hall and ZBPBA meetings. But at least we can get, the clerk, the police, and everybody else up on Mountain Road Extension in one building. So we were really focusing on trying to get a better understanding and idea of the original blueprint, the retrofit, and then we were going to worry about and focus on the second phase, which would be the addition.
Have you discussed with the court and the police the ramifications of splitting their departments, considering they work so closely together? I know eventually they'll be back together, but it's going to take a long time to build that addition. So the police would be in one location and the court would be in another.
Right. Mr. Donnelly, have you
And
talked to
also
the
kind of
people
gives
about that at all?
it questions safety too if the police are here with the court.
Right.
Yeah, we've discussed it. I've discussed with the chief since, you know.
But have you discussed it with the court?
Yeah, we had a meeting with, is that OCA? I've had a Zoom call with the third judicial district and the court of Queens about what is needed in its ongoing discussion.
The next thing I'd like to mention is why the sewer rates have to be done now and why they're important. Sewer bills go out in January and July. So my first bill that I have to submit to the community is January 1st. If you don't have rates ready for me, I cannot do that. Okay? You have to give a public hearing. You can't cancel the public hearing 5 minutes after it's supposed to start. There has to be notice. No one mentioned to me that they were not gonna have a public hearing tonight. And I'm the town clerk that posts the public hearings, so I kinda need to know that. But please understand that the sewer rates are important for the people to know about and be aware of. And you have opened your hearing, so please remember tonight to either close your hearing or to motion to extend it further. But your rights do need to be solidified by the December 26th meeting so I can produce bills. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
I make a motion to keep it open. I think it's important.
Yeah, I second that.
In favor? Aye.
And we'll just make sure on the 26th, we state the rates and she can be all set with what she has
Yeah,
to do.
and on the
right?
26th, it's just gonna be me, you, and Ron, because you're not gonna be here and Linda's
Right.
not gonna be here.
Yeah,
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.